Hello and welcome to Mrs Mummypenny Talks with Ridley Writes. This is episode 9, unbelievably. Today we are going to be talking about body image, women and body image, which I think is going to make for a fascinating discussion. But as ever, before we dive into the subject itself, let's just check in with each other. So, Lynn, how you doing? How's your week been?
Hi everybody, I am very good. I have survived another half term. It's been amazing because it's been really nice weather for most of the week. So got the pool out, and once I've got the pool out in the garden, everyone's happy, including me, because when the kids aren't here, I just sit in the pool and float around on my donut. What have I done? Anything particularly exciting? I started a new challenge this week with my friend Jordan Cox, who's aka the Coupon Kid. Okay. He's famous for he grew this like 100,000 strong Facebook group when he was like 15 or something. Right. And he does what I do, but we're doing a trading challenge where we started with a 1p coin. And we had to trade that 1p coin for something, and then we have to keep trading and trading and trading up and up and up and up in greater and greater value. No money is ever allowed to change hands. We've set up a Facebook group to like support it, but I did my first trade yesterday and I got a Sudoku cube for a penny.
Amazing. There we go.
And it's even in its packaging. I had quite a sad discussion with the guy who traded it. It was just, I had to make an exit when he told me the story. He was like, it belonged to my wife. She got it for Christmas, but she died 2 years ago.
Oh, God.
I was like, oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, God.
So anyway.
That's dark. That's a dark start to your penny trade.
Yeah. But and also I was like going to this door in my village and I'm like, this could be any stranger behind this door. This probably isn't the safest of things to be doing. Anyway, it was fine.
Years ago I bought a second-hand typewriter for like £2.49 or something, and it was one of the first things I bought from eBay, and it was collection only, and I went to this really like dodgy looking prefab shack somewhere in Tiverton in Devon, and I was like, what am I doing? How badly do I need a typewriter in my life? I'm prepared to risk life and limb going to this strange abandoned place. Anyway, it was fine. It was all fine. Typewriter was brilliant. It was good.
Oh, very good. So I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Also loving the sunshine. Didn't get the paddling pool out, thought about getting the paddling pool out, but ours is a blow-up one, and our puppy has sharp claws. I thought, this is never going to end well. Like, everybody is just going to be miserable. That's not the vibe you want when it comes to paddling pools in your back garden. So I haven't done that for the kids yet, but yeah, somebody was telling me you can buy dog-proof, bite-proof paddling pools. Of course you can buy anything these days, can't you? So
yeah, and like dogs love a paddling pool.
Yes, yeah, and
maybe when she's a bit bigger.
I think she could do with a bath as well, but we won't go there right now.
Oh, do you have to bath dogs? I've never even thought of that element of dog mothering.
They're not like cats. They don't clean themselves. You have to.
Oh no.
And especially in the winter months, you know, they just and they love jumping in puddles and rolling in mud. Yeah. Take them out into the country. They love eating cow pats. That's nice. Rolling in them. Fox poo. That's got a nice smell. They like to.
Oh, that's the worst, isn't it? Fox poo's like, yeah. Totally digressing. My friend Anita she got a dog last year, and she was telling me the other day about it's a female dog like you have got. She was telling me about when the dog goes into season.
Of course, yeah.
Now that's an interesting time.
I've got you know, some people take this to extremes, and they put like nappies on their dogs in order to not have the mess in the house. I mean, I don't know. I'll tell you when we get that. I can't see me putting a nappy on the dog. I mean, I struggle to get a nappy on my 2.5-year-old, much less a dog. Anyway, There we go. There we go. Should we kick off? Shall we
Yeah,
dive in?
let's go for it. So, big subject that's quite a difficult one for me, women and body image. So I think I'll be the case study in this, and because you've always been like, you've always looked the same, and you've always, I don't know, I've always thought you were one of my slim, slender friends.
Yes, yes. Although I have to say, right now, and it's interesting that we're doing this episode now. So I think, like everybody, I'm emerging out of lockdown, and particularly the last few days, we've had a really long winter, right? So we've been wearing kind of the baggy clothes for ages, and then the last couple of days, pulling out summer clothes and discovering that, you know, my shorts are distinctly tighter than they were, and definitely feeling like I've put weight on, and not being very happy with my body image, and being really mixed about that in terms of kind of guilt, because I don't think I think as a feminist we should be body positive, body neutral, any of those sort of things. You know, we know that we are more than our bodies, and yeah, I think it really just goes to show how strong the messaging is, that it's not just about being slender, because, you know, a couple of pounds here or there is not really going to make that big a difference to my overall frame, but it does feel like it has. It does feel like I'm suddenly not my shape, or I'm suddenly the wrong shape. But I actually wanted to raise the other thing, which I don't know if you remember. We were in the changing rooms in Dorothy Perkins in Market Jew Street in Penzance as teenagers, and one of the things that was fascinating was I was reasonably underdeveloped for quite a long time, and so nothing in Dorothy Perkins or Topshop fit me for the longest time, whereas you always looked absolutely stunning in everything that you tried on. So there's that bit, but also I remember us having a conversation. You hated your freckles, and I was a bit concerned about my nose, and I remember you turning around to me and saying, "Don't worry, when you're older you can have a nose job, but nothing will ever get rid of my freckles." So, you know, there's more to body image than fat as well, obviously. You know, there's
Totally.
and then the other thing that I would just very quickly chip in before we get back onto it is what really talked me out of even the idea of thinking about plastic surgery. And this is as a teenager, right? This is as a young girl contemplating her future. There was an enormously powerful article in Cosmopolitan magazine that I read when I was about 14 that talked about women that had had plastic surgery, particularly kind of, well, I think all sorts of plastic surgery, and how it had changed their personalities. And so I specifically remember this one case study that they talked about where she'd had her nose straightened, and she'd gone from being this bright, gregarious, lovely girl to being suddenly quite kind of, withdrawn, and I was like, wow. And so, I mean, obviously the article was playing on the idea quite powerfully that we need to learn to love our bodies. And I mean, this is back in the 90s, obviously, that we need to learn to love our bodies as they are, and not look necessarily to making outward changes, because that doesn't necessarily fix anything. So anyway, those are a couple of body image stories that I'm sharing.
Yeah, that's I love your memories, because they're stuff that that have just completely gone from my head. It's amazing still being friends with somebody that you've got so much past with. I absolutely love it. I think I've always struggled with my body image. It's interesting to look back at photos actually of stages of my life, and I can almost like piece together how it links to, you know, events that have happened in mental health. So like all the photos of me as a sort of young teenager, you know, when we were at school up to the age of 16, I was just a normal girl, totally like size 12, totally normal, but I always felt really fat. And I had a bit of hypnotherapy actually about weight and body image, and we did some timeline therapy, and we went back to and you might remember this, an episode that happened with a couple of boys that were in the same form as us. I think we were about 11, 12, and these two boys called me fat. And that's like my standout memory of somebody having an impact on my my body image. And it was just one a throwaway comment from two stupid little twat boys.
I know who we're talking about.
And also, like, my dad wasn't particularly great about my body image as well. He'd like say the odd like, I don't know. I just always got the impression that he thought I was bigger than I should be. Anyway, but I actually wasn't. Looking back, I was totally fine. But then after my mum died, I totally turned to like comfort eating. And do you remember I was doing the shopping for the house, and I was getting like treat items because I was responsible for getting food in the house, and I'd sort of binge on them. And there's photos I can see from when I'm like 18, like at my 18th birthday party and stuff, where I'm a lot bigger. So I definitely turn to food as my coping mechanism when things go wrong in life. But and yeah, so I've, from that point onwards, I almost like just completely lost control of my body image, and was always overweight and always hated what I looked like. And then once I turned 40, so I'm 44 now, we're 44 now. Yeah. Oh, it's nearly your birthday.
Yeah, give me a couple of weeks, but I'm catching up.
Nearly your birthday. So yeah, I had some hypnotherapy, and I did clean eating, and sort of turning 40 was a real sort of big mind change for me. And I managed to lose a load of weight. You remember, I literally got down to like a size 10, 12, and my face looks really different and I'm not that size now. I've put weight on again, but it's just this constant struggle, and I can't maintain it. I can't maintain that size 10 to 12. That's not my natural body weight. So now over lockdown, I put weight on. I've probably put like 2.5 stone on, and I absolutely hate it. Like, and that first comment you made about the guilt that we should embrace our size, and I just can't do it. I just can't. I just want to be like a size 12, and I can't believe I'm like betraying my sort of feminist notions here, but I'm just not happy with the way I look, and I don't really know how to get a positive body image apart from I have to shout out some incredible, like the only people I follow on Instagram are positive influences on me, and I follow a lot of normal women who are like influencers, like sort of like what I do, and they have normal bodies, like Brummy Mummy of 2 and Alison Perry and Helen Thorne of Scummy Mummies. They're all like regular size 16, size 18 women, and they always look amazing, and they just talk about it in such a positive way. So that is having a positive impact on me. But then I've always got that overarching thing of, no, you're too fat.
And the hypnotherapy you had didn't help, or didn't help you to find methods to manage that, or to work with that?
It did, but like I need to like sort of top them up. It was like it was too many years ago. I think, well, that's how hypnotherapy works for me. It has an immediate effect and works very quickly. And there are still elements that still sort of click through, like when I went out for dinner last night, and I always used to feel like if I'm going out for dinner, I should have like the burger, the sort of most unhealthiest thing, where now I'll actually look at a menu and I think, oh, I could have a salad as a side rather than the fries, and still be happy with that choice. So that is a definite thing for hypnotherapy that stuck in my head. Yeah, I probably need to have it topped up again. But it's yeah. It's a tricky one.
It's interesting. So one of the books that I'm reading at the moment is Fat is a Feminist Issue by Susie Orbach.
Right.
And this is well, as it says on the book that I'm showing to YouTube viewers, that it's a best-selling classic on the subject. It's the original anti-diet book, is how it's pitched. And I've only just started it. I also run a classic feminist literature book club, and this is our July book club read. So it's really interesting. And also, so the original Fat is a Feminist Issue book was published in 1978, and it was the first time that anybody had really done a study about how women felt about their bodies. So it was revolutionary in its time. And then a few years later, 1981, she wrote a sort of a follow-up version that was which is also included in this bumper edition, that was in response to women saying, like, oh, this is great and we get it, but like, what do we do about it? How do we break out of that self-help culture? How do we how do we deal with this issue? And then this particular version that I'm holding in my hands, I think, was republished in 2016, and it's got a new introduction, which is the only bit that I've read so far, I have to say, because I only picked it up the other evening. But it's fascinating. So Susie Orbach is now talking about, and there's a little bit of research in here as well about what a significant issue it still is, and in fact how it's getting bigger because of the dominance of things like social media. And she talks about she talks about the fact that it's 40 years since Fat is a Feminist Issue was first published, and that she could never have believed that it would still be such a big issue. I think she really thought that it was something that she was addressing, and there was a bit of a revolution around it at the time. But there's some information in here that I thought you might be interested. I thought everybody might be interested in hearing. So she talks about the way that all the conversation about diet and size is around this idea of something to be fixed, and that it's so ubiquitous, it's so deeply part of our culture that we don't even question, like, why are we even in this conversation about our size? Why are we even in this mindset that we need to do something to change how we look in order to feel better? And she says here, in classrooms around the world, girls as young as 6 worry about food. They mimic the worked on bodies they see staring out at them from various media, and they don't know yet that digital manipulation is ubiquitous. They don't know yet that the glamorous celebrities they follow use lighting and well thought out camera angles to make them appear to have longer legs, smaller waists, larger breasts and rounder bums. She also says there's a plan. They plan for their own future surgeries on game apps designed for 10-year-olds. Body transformation is no longer experienced as a problem, but as a potential they will be able to take up. For them, body transformation is exciting and will be as unquestioned as colouring one's hair. They don't know that body dissatisfaction is not inevitable. And I think that's a really powerful line, that it's not inevitable that we should feel this unhappy about our bodies. And then one sort of final thing to share here, she talks about, and again, this is 2016, so things will have changed a little bit since then. But she says, being online is the prevailing experience for many of us today, and especially for young people. Only 40,000 of the 4.3 million 15 to 18-year-olds in the UK are not connected pretty much all of their waking hours. The 4.26 million, meanwhile, post approximately 7 selfies of themselves each week in the search for approval. Each selfie that a girl posts in the search for likes takes an average of 12 minutes to get right. That doesn't, of course, include the time taken to dress and to make up for it. The physical self, or rather its representation, is being curated. Approval matters, and yet it is elusive. Girls surveyed say they would feel good with 124 likes, as compared to the 26 they actually average. It's it's really quite something.
And do you know the really interesting thing? So obviously I have a big Instagram profile, and I post, my Instagram feed isn't curated in any way. I'm very random about what I post. Like, oh, what should I post today? My nails. But whenever I post a picture of my face, which absolutely it's taken at a certain angle, and normally I'm actually not too, my face isn't a problem for me. I'm okay with my face. It's more my body. Yeah, a picture of your face, or even you wearing clothes, gets way more likes than any other type of picture. It's crazy. And that's not even, I'm not skilled with like the hashtags and stuff I use. I'm a bit random with them. It's just people genuinely like pictures of faces more than, you know, countryside or animals, or it's crazy. But yeah, I think we can be, but I think we can really, as I've already mentioned, my Instagram is doing huge things to try to change my mindset by just following the right people. I follow some incredible accounts of like fitness models who will do a video of what their body looks like unposed to what their body looks like when they sort of lift up their arms, and literally to show you how they're a fitness model and they do not have a perfect body, they have a body more like you or I, and just the change of an arm, a tense of a bum cheek suddenly makes everything really different. I just really like those kind of accounts because they're just showing the reality of what things are. But it's 44 years of ingrained media and not even views from other people, like perceived views from people. Like I'll walk down a street and I'll think, oh, I bet they think that I'm fat, and it's just like, why are you even thinking that, Lynn? Because that person walking down the street doesn't give a shit about you or what you look like. They're just concerned about themselves. It's all this just stuff you make up in your head about how you look. And
but it's not, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's really interesting, is that yes, we internalize it, but it doesn't have to be that. It is a socially created situation. And you know, I think there are a number of things that are incredibly fascinating about the subject, not least of which that, you know, it's the for the longest time, you know, culturally, historically, having curves, having a shape, in fact, having excess weight was seen as an image of abundance, of prosperity, of wealth and health. Like, you know, and it's only in relatively recent history that being thin, you know, and it is indicative of kind of the kind of white privileged society, that the idea of being skinny becomes aspirational and becomes the most sought after thing, because and it is a sort of a cultural export that has now globalized. So even in the last 10 years, certainly sort of according to the research in fact as a feminist issue, there are a number of countries in the world that were what's described as fat positive, where actually being large was considered a really good thing and something that you would want in a person, and I think specifically in a woman as well. But again, as we globalize, as this skinny is normalized, then it's changed people's perceptions. And what I'm saying by that is so quickly, like that's how powerful the media that we are constantly surrounded by is, that it can change whole cultural mindsets in a very short space of time. And there's a real kind of sort of capitalist consumerist element to it as well. So we know that the food industry puts more salt and sugar into foods than is ever necessary, and that the purpose of salt and sugar in your food is because they are addictive substances, and they leave you unsatiated, so you want to eat more because that's the nature of those products.
Yeah.
And equally, I think it's reasonably well documented that the dieting industry works on a kind of a cycle of return. They're never trying to think about like how we fix this issue. It is the idea, and so the ideal, so that coming back to what you were saying about not being a natural size 10 or what have you, size 12, is that there is a whole powerful, well-funded number of industries out there that want to encourage you to have that desire for something that isn't your natural fit, to keep you hooked into the diets and the fads and the return, the endless kind of seeking after something that just isn't naturally you, in order to keep you coming back, which I think is also fascinating.
My friend Faith shared something interesting on Twitter the other day. She was like, what do you think are the top 5 women's magazines in the UK? And number 1 magazine, Slimming World. I could not believe that. You think all the incredible magazines out there, and a bloody Slimming magazine is the number 1. So we're just surrounded by I think that your microphone might have done the funny thing as well, but so I'll keep talking whilst you fix it. It's a huge struggle. I think it's something that I will always battle with my entire life, so maybe just give it up and just accept that it's something that I'll never be happy with. And then the only time where I have been that ideal size, I still looked at myself then and thought, no, you've still got a stomach that's too big. And the only way I got there was by having like a personal trainer and not eating much food.
It is that thing about like, so that it's on two levels, isn't it? Right. So it's the starve yourself, and also the fact that this image of skinny is so popular is such a, like, we're so wealthy we can starve ourselves. Like, it's just bonkers from any kind of biological point of view that any kind of culture would want to do that. And then on the other side, that I've completely lost my point, so I'm going to stop. What was the second point I was going to make? Who knows? Well,
let me share the story of what happened yesterday, because my friend who said this, he ain't going to listen to this podcast, so I'll just say it. So I have this interesting relationship with, if somebody ever says anything to me about my body image or my weight, it's like, you can call me any name under the sun, you can call me whatever, but if you call me fat, that's like the worst thing. Real trigger. And it's not funny at all. I have put on weight. I am like size 14 maybe, and I'm maybe going up to a size 16. In fact, I'm going to get some new bras this afternoon, because I spoke to my bra lady and I can't force myself into these 32 back bras anymore, it hurts too much. Can I just get new bras? And she's like, I'm in the same position, Lynn, don't worry, we'll sort you out. But so I walked into the restaurant and my friend says to me, you've put on weight.
Did he say you've put on weight? Did he say you've put on weight, or did he use the word?
He didn't call me fat.
Okay.
He just said to me that I put on weight, and I just sort of sat down in shock, I know I've put on weight, but why would you say that to me? So anyway, it really pissed me off. And but yeah, thanks for pointing out the fact that I am bigger. And I was like, maybe it's what I'm wearing today. He's like, no, you've definitely put on weight.
Oh, God.
Okay, thanks.
That's a really lovely thing to hear just before dinner as well, isn't it?
Yeah, although it didn't stop me. Like, I still had a nice dinner. I enjoyed the food.
Cool.
And I maybe drank more wine than I should have done to get over the sting of the comment. But
okay, so let's go a bit deeper on this then. So why? What happens? What does it make you feel? Somebody says you're overweight or you feel overweight. What does that do? What does that do to your sense of self?
I suppose it just makes me feel unattractive.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to come back to like being like desired by other people, but I think it does come back to that it's this crazy formation of my thoughts that if I'm fat, nobody will like me or people won't fancy me or whatever, which is quite ridiculous because I do have somebody that fancies me at the moment at my exact size. So there we go.
Okay.
Not my gay best friend who I met, an actual man. It shouldn't matter, should it? It shouldn't matter.
No, exactly. But before we go into that place, but if you look back over history, and you've said you've got photos that show at various different points in time you've been different shapes and sizes, and is there, when you look at that, a correlation between the number of friends and people around you who like and love you, depending on how big you are?
Of course not, no.
And does the love and affection of another person, I'm doing this intentionally, and I know you know I am, but does the love and affection of another person, what does that do? How does that change things? How important is that for any of us?
Oh, well, like, it's hugely important, isn't it? I've had a few years of my life recently where I've been like, I don't need any intimacy with anybody. It doesn't matter that I don't have somebody that loves me. But actually, as time goes on, and you can get that love and intimacy from, well, you can't get intimacy, but you can get love and attention from your friends. But yeah, when you don't have an actual partner in life who loves and appreciates you, that's quite tough. That gets you in the end. You do need that. You do. I know there's loads of people like, I'm so happy I don't have to hug people anymore, but I'm a hugger. Like, I do need a hug. I do need that like tactile attention.
And it is tough, and it gets to you. I hear that, and I recognize that, and I think many people would agree. What does it mean about you as a person if you are not in a relationship, if you are not in a situation where you are desired by somebody?
If I'm not, I suppose that I'm unloved and by myself.
Unloved by so does this come down to, and thank you for answering all these questions, you're a wonderful.
This is like a therapy session, basically.
I know, and it's quite funny because it's kind of like the conversation we might have in the pub, but we're not in the pub. We're talking to quite a few people. Hi. It's about being unloved, but you are loved by so many people, so it's about being loved by a single significant other, right?
It's all going to come back to mummy and daddy issues, isn't it?
Well, no, I think I think again, actually, and this is a different conversation for a different podcast, but I think it's maybe it's the fairy tale, maybe it's the happy ever after. There's a really strong I guess cultural storyline that says we are only whole when we are two, when there is me and my other, which I think is really interesting, and that also is something that's kind of really important in terms of women and women's mental health and our ability to you know, to function, because ironically we know that we live longer if we're single. That's kind of a well-documented fact, isn't it? And
life
even
is much easier when you're single. I've got to put it out there. Like,
yeah
you haven't got another person to like check everything with.
You know, and you're not carrying the emotional load of another person as well, you know, and of that whole kind of cohabiting, domesticity, etc. You know, there are lots of things that are really kind of, I think, valuable as a woman in being single, and whilst I'm very happily currently not single, I would also say that I look back enormously fondly on the 3 or 4 years where I was by myself, because it was a very different experience of living and of being me. And interestingly, I don't know if this really plays into what we're talking about here, but when I lived by myself, I felt like I lived inside myself. Whereas let's put me on the couch now, therapist couch. Whereas when I live with other people, I feel like I'm out here. There's so much thinking and feeling for other people that actually it's a bit like there's a creature, I don't know how familiar you are with this, there's a creature called a sea slug, and whenever the sea slug is under attack or feels like it's under attack, it vomits up its entire stomach as a way of like, its predator will then just eat the stomach, and the sea slug can get away and can regrow another stomach. Brilliant, well done, sea slug. But I often feel like that I've sort of vomited myself out, and that I'm almost empty inside, because there isn't enough time to just be me, situated very kind of physically inside myself. This has nothing to do with body image, so I'm going to stop.
No. It's good to meander, but you are a person who is extremely comfortable with being by yourself. You don't need, well,
yeah, we all do.
You always have people surrounding you because you have children and a husband, but you almost like crave that.
Oh yeah, I'm always craving the solitude. I'm one of the people that's not too unhappy about the fact we're not hugging people and seeing them every 5 minutes. But no, I'm really pleased to get back to seeing people. Yeah, no, I mean, we've gone off, but I think this is the point, isn't it? Like, what does our external appearance do to our sense of self, knowing that we are, you know, our appearance doesn't change how intelligent we are. It doesn't change. It actually doesn't change how much we're loved. No. You know, because at various points in time when, you know, either of us have been various sizes, we've either been in or out of relationships, and being in or out of those relationships has borne absolutely no correlation to the dress size that we're at. But somehow, you know, it is that being outcast from society sense that drives, or that makes it matter, even though fundamentally you whatever size you've been, whatever age you've been as well, actually, and same for me, you know, you've always been Lynn and I've always been Becky, and nothing external changes that as we get older. You know, and I think age is the other thing that we haven't touched upon, and I know we need to close out soon, but you know, I think that's another key thing of image. And you know, from a it's probably a topic in its own right, but from a women's point of view, we start to disappear as we get older. There are fewer images of older women. There are.
I think we should park that for another episode, because we should talk about the aging process and the stage that we are just about to hit, which is menopause. Like, there can't be enough people talking about that subject, because that's just another one of those. Let's brush that under the carpet and don't talk about it. We've got that exciting thing to look forward to. But
and again, all of those issues are about how our sense of self, where our sense of self is located.
So I want going forward, I want to be more, I suppose I'll just carry on being honest about you know, how I think and how I feel on you know, the outward facing social media stuff that I do, and try to not be so hard on myself, and try to lose a little bit of my tummy, just a little bit. I don't need to go back to that extreme Lynn from 4 years ago, because it's not maintainable. But I don't know.
There's
Or listen to people like Alison Hammond. You know who Alison Hammond is? She presents This Morning on a Friday. She's a plus size woman, and she is totally fine with it. And I was listening to a random phone in the other day where she was talking to somebody who was really upset about the weight she'd put on, blah blah blah, and she was like, exactly what you've just said. It's not changing your intelligence. It's not changing. You've got your children. They still love you. They don't care what you look like. She really just had that same sort of motivational conversation. And she's like, look at me. I am a big woman, and I am presenting a like mainstream TV program on a Friday. It's done me no harm whatsoever. So I think just have those kind of people bombarding your thoughts and feelings, and the right supportive people around you. If somebody like your mate calls you overweight, turn it around to them and say, well, I don't know. Tell him he's an idiot and should never say something like that ever again. Or so be it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I think that, but I think this is really interesting, because these are the practicalities, aren't they? What can you do? What changes things? So, I mean, I follow, annoyingly, I've forgotten the woman's name, and I'm so sorry, but I follow Black and Beach on Instagram, and Black and Beach is also it's the name of a design company. It's a really, really lovely woman who does great products, and she posted the other day on this very issue actually, and saying that she'd put on some lockdown weight, and she was no longer really, didn't like how anything felt, and she wasn't saying, this I thought was really interesting, she wasn't saying either that I'm fat, or that if I am fat that it has a value, good or bad. Fat is a neutral word actually, it's just that we've culturally loaded it. And she got quite a lot of help from the Instagram community in terms of suggesting what sort of things she could wear and how she could dress, because that's what she wanted to do, was, this is the size I am. How do I dress so that I know that I look and feel good at this size? That's the only question I have. I don't want to know how to diet. I don't want to know how to change where I'm at right now. I want to know how to feel like me, not even feel good, although that is part of it, but I want to feel like when I look in the mirror, I see me. And I found that a really interesting take on
that's really powerful, really shifting, because that's not asking for any sympathy or asking for any emotional support, is it? It's just a practical, I like that. And Helen wears a size 18. That's her Instagram account. I just love her. She's recently gone through a divorce, but I just love her positivity. She wears like skimpy clothes and short shorts, but she buys, I tell you what, she buys it in the right size.
Yes.
And it fits her, so it just looks really good. And I look at her and think, God, you're a size 18. You're in effect, you're bigger than I am, but you look like incredible. So I think,
and I think that's the other thing as well.
More of that. We just need more of that, don't we?
And there's nothing like wearing something that's a bit too small, that you've got to be hitching up or pinches you, or just, of course you feel awful. You feel physically awful because something's squidging you in places you don't need to be squidged, and then and so I think there's definitely something about wearing what suits your size is a help.
Follow Black and Beach and check out that.
Definitely check out that particular post, and the fact that we need to talk more about, and we won't today because we need to close up, but we do need to talk more about, I think, this issue, and maybe there are some people that we can pull in to talk to about it, and to talk about how we change the perception personally, and what we can do to change that on a broader level. Because the other thing that we've not really talked about, although some of the stats I gave earlier from the book hinted it, is the impact it's having on young women and girls, and boys too increasingly, but certainly, you know, young women and girls who, you know, I have people that I know very well who will wear makeup specifically so that they look brilliant on Instagram. It doesn't look great in real life, like it really doesn't. Yeah, you know, what are the implications of that, and the long-term implications as well.
Yeah. So much.
Anyway, so much to talk about.
We need to end it because we're out of time.
We're completely out of time. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you, everybody. You have been listening to Mrs Mummypenny Talks with Ridley Writes. The podcast is produced by Lynn Beattie. The podcast, well, not just the podcast, actually, now that I say that, but the podcast on YouTube is produced by Lynn Beattie. The podcast music has been created, composed and performed by Daniel Greensmith. And we are your hosts, Rebecca Megson-Smith and Lynn Beattie. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back talking about more issues that affect women next week.
In episode 10.
In episode 10. Yay!
Just forever now. We've established ourselves, haven't we? Our listeners are going up and up each week. It's very exciting. Cool. Thanks ever so much, everybody, for watching, listening, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.